On what has become one of the biggest political news days of the year, MSNBC's Morning Joe has been pulled off the air. CNN reports that the decision was made to, quote, avoid a scenario in which one of the show's stable of 24+ guests might make an inappropriate comment on live television that could be used to assail the program and the network as a whole. CNN also notes that it's not the first time MSNBC has made this sort of programming decision in a charged political moment. Last year, after Hamas executed its deadly October 7th attack on Israel, MSNBC pulled 3 of its Muslim broadcasters from the air. It's not just MSNBC that's worried. Comedy Central's The Daily Show has axed its planned coverage of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee this week. Take a listen to the Hill columnist Steve Krakauer reacting to the news.
But if you can't trust Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski to lead a news coverage of that, what does that say about the program itself and the network itself, which every night when it comes to breaking news or a big political night and primetime is led by its opinion hosts as well. So I think this is enormous right now.
Spectator editor-at-large Ben Domenech similarly wrote on X, quote, NBC doesn't trust Joe Biden's favorite show to not damage the network with their comments on the assassination attempt. Joe and Mika and friends officially benched. To which National Review journalist Charles Cook wrote, quote, just wait until they find out about Joy Reid. So I think this is a massive indictment of Morning Joe, of Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, that their own network does not trust their commentary on like the biggest day in news history in a while, reacting to the major political news stories. They're not trusted, their guests are not trusted to give commentary that the network is confident in. That's a major blow to them.
They could have given commentary on Biden's big 59-minute Q&A that went exceedingly well. The same day he called Zelensky President Putin and then went on to give commentary and call Kamala Harris Vice President Trump. They didn't want to talk about that.
These are very easy people to confuse. You know, anyone could make that mistake.
Right, yes. There's no difference really between Zelensky and Putin and Trump and Harris. But I think at the end of the day, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. It's like advice you give to a child, not to newscasters.
not to your newscasters, not to your pundits.
Not to your trusted anchors on Morning Joe. Yeah, I think it's shocking, and I think they probably feel a little bit silenced right now. They probably feel like their network precisely doesn't trust them to give commentary, what they were hired to do. That's probably a difficult position to be in, and I bet they're questioning their position at the network. The decision by MSNBC to remove their Muslim anchors from the show, I felt similarly about. Why are you silencing people on one side of an issue? Let them give their commentary. To think that we're in a place where potentially words are so dangerous that they can't speak at all is scary.
I think I feel differently about that, the Muslim anchors being taken off, than I do about poor old Morning Joe and Mika. Well, now, first of all, in that case, MSNBC, well, I don't know if they denied it. They didn't address it, whether it was done for that reason. Mehdi Hasan was one of those figures and has not, as far as I can tell, subsequently said that that was the reason. And I don't know why that is, if it was in fact the reason. Now, I think it was a bad idea, to be clear, to not allow the views of Muslim makers who might have offered a different or a dissenting commentary on what was going on Gaza, although I shouldn't presume to have known what they were going to say about it just because they were Muslim, that they were going to say something counter to the Israeli narrative or whatever it was. That seemed like a very, content-based kind of act of censorship, if that was indeed the reason, which I'm perfectly willing to believe it was, although even the 3 victims of it have not said so thus far. In this case, I guess this is, it's kind of a heavy-handed. Their views are being suppressed by their employer. I mean, there's no way around that now, and you can think that's bad, but like, what does it say about that? This is Joe Biden's favorite show. It's his like major source of news.
He
called into it. Well, yeah, what's he gonna watch? But
he called into it and was like, and they were like, "Thank you, Joe."
Yeah, maybe that's why they're taking him off. They don't want Joe Biden to have the opportunity.
It ended up being bad
himself.
for his campaign.
Yeah. But it just says something not so good about your news commentary that your bosses are afraid of it at this, again, at a day where that you want to be firing on all cylinders. I'm sure you woke up energized today. I did. I just got back from Las Vegas. I knew we were going to have a big show today. There's so much to talk about. We were able to, finally react and discuss the attempted assassination of Donald Trump.
And find appropriate guests with, I'm sure, less staff than Morning Joe has.
Yeah, we have about zero staff. We won't get into the production difficulties we've had as of late. Everyone behind the scenes on Rising, by the way, is working as hard as any human beings on Earth right now to deliver our show.
Harder than Morning Joe this morning.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe we can see if they want to help edit clips or something if Joe needs a job right now. But yeah, it's sucks to be them, I guess.
And people will lose their jobs over things they've tweeted and said. We already had Representative Benny Thompson fire a staffer over controversial post following the attempted assassination. That's their social media, their personal social media accounts. To think that pulling people from the air instead of doing a show, what's the point of having a news show in the first place if they can't talk about the biggest news in a very long time?
But it also should be very easy. It's shockingly easy to discuss this, even from an adversarial to Donald Trump perspective. It is very easy to say that, let's say, okay, I'm putting on my Morning Joe disguise right now. I'm Joe Scarborough, and I oppose Donald Trump. I think he's a threat to democracy. I am very concerned for our country. If Joe Biden is not reelected, we're going down a very dark path. Donald Trump is a bad man, and his policies are bad, and I can't stand him. But nevertheless, it was absolutely, totally wrong for someone to try to kill him. Violence is never acceptable, and that's how I feel. And we're going to have on guests who all feel that same way. It is beyond the pale to say otherwise. Like, that is very easy, even if you really don't like Donald Trump. But apparently they're not capable of it. They were worried they were not capable of it.
I mean, thankfully, we had time to process and think about our perspective on this and think about it enough that we can give commentary that's more than just what is breaking right now. Because this happened on Saturday. They had that much time to put together their Morning Joe show and respond to this news. This tells me that something about what was discussed, someone's opinion could have been, I want this guy dead, he should be taken out. Someone must have said something to indicate that they should not be on air. They had time to talk about what they would say. They had time to put together a show. This wasn't just some random decision. This had to come out of some kind of production meeting about what would be discussed and who they'd have on.
In other kind of media criticism news, there's been a lot of Republican criticizing of mainstream media headlines that describing what happened to Trump as it was happening. A lot of outlets said, like, loud noises heard, Trump taken off stage by Secret Service. It took a little bit of time before the headlines were updated to say, no, Trump survived, is unharmed, but was hit with a shot. That took a while. Now, I disagree with some of the Republican commentary on this. I think it's okay to be cautious and want to double check and not say it was gunfire before they had, it sounded like gunfire, but before they had that absolutely confirmed. That's fine. You don't want to get things wrong and jump the gun, so to speak. But CNN did have a headline that was a little bit more ridiculous than that. They had I have to look up exactly.
Secret Service interrupts Trump's speech, and it was like...
Yeah, no, theirs said Trump falls.
Yeah.
It said Secret Service takes Trump off stage after Trump falls. It said Trump falls was the headline. That was not so good. Again, even early on, there was a noise, there was effort to protect him. That was a bad headline that's going to get them in some deserved trouble there. So caution is okay. I think the headlines, even early on, should have reflected that there was a gun-like sound. But, let's be cautious. But CNN was even short of that. So.
Right. And to our viewers who would normally be watching Morning Joe right now, thank you. That does it for us today on Rising. We hope to see you again tomorrow. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any content. And for those of you who like to listen while on the go, we're available wherever you get your podcasts.
We will have another news-filled day tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye, y'all.